Welcome back, everyone, to An Atheist Reads the Bible. Today we're going over chapter 4. Now, the previous recording for this, because I've tried to record this about 2 times now, and each recording's turned out like crap, so we're going to try this third time. Hopefully this one will turn out better. But that's why this video is a little late getting put up, though. There's quite a few things in this chapter that I have a hard time pronouncing, mostly names. And there was a couple of things that I did have to look at the meaning of, such as begot, for instance, which apparently means to bear. So, welcome to my channel. My name is Caretaker, and this is An Atheist Reads the Bible. So let's get started here on chapter 4. And Adam knew Eve, his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. And she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. In the process of time it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. And Abel he also brought of the firstlings of his flock, and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel, and to his offering, but unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, which is another word I had to look up, which apparently means angry. And his countenance fell. And the Lord said unto Cain, Why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shalt thou not be accepted, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door. And unto thee shall be the desire, and thou shalt rule over him. So I guess he's saying that Cain's sin would rule over him. But anyway. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field, that Cain rose up against Abel his brother, and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, Where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not. Am I my brother's keeper? And he said, What hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. And now art thou cursed from the earth, which layeth upon her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and a vagabond shalt thou be in the earth. And Cain said unto the Lord, My punishment is too great, is greater than I can bear. Behold, thou hast driven out this day from the face of the earth, and from the face shall I be hid. And I shall be a fugitive and a vagabond in the earth, and it shall come to pass that every one shall findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, Therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. So there's your mark of Cain, ladies and gentlemen. And Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, and dwelt in the land of Nod on the east of Eden. And Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch. And he builded a city, and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. Literally says builded, not built. Maybe they didn't have the word built back then. And unto Enoch was born Irad. And Irad begot Mehujael. And Mehujael, if I'm pronouncing this right, I'm sorry if I'm slaughtering these names, begot Methusael. And Methusael begot Lamech. And Lamech took unto him 2 wives. The name of the one was Ada, and the name of the other was Zillah. Godzilla. And Ada bare Jabal. He was the father of such as dwell in tents, and such as have cattle. And his brother's name was Jubal. So we have Jabal and Jubal. Jabal and Jubal. He was the father of all such as handle and harp and organ. So music, I guess. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificer, and in brass and iron, And the sisters of Tubal Cain was Naamah Oh, the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah. I thought it said sisters for a moment there. And Lamech said unto his wives Ada and Zillah, Hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wandering, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. I didn't even know there was a third, honestly, until I read over this. For God said, He hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, whom Cain slew. And to Seth, to him also there was born a son, and he called his name Enos. Then began men to call upon the name of the Lord. Alright, so that's chapter 4. That only took us about 6 minutes. That's pretty good. Alright. So, out of all of that, a few things. First, I find it interesting that Eve says that God gave her a son. Let me get back to that part. Adam knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. Adam gave you your son, girl. So I don't really understand that part. It's not like she had sex with God. And then she says it again later on when she bears Cain. Or not Cain, excuse me, Seth. Let's see here. And Adam knew his wife again, and she bare a son, and called his name Seth. For God said, She hath appointed me another seed instead of Abel, who Cain slew. So she's saying basically that God's giving her the seed to bear these kids, but she already has the eggs, and it's Adam that's having sex with her, and the two are making Cain, Abel, and then later Seth apparently. One of the most interesting things that I find in this chapter is that there's not really any kind of time scale. It's not really giving us any good example of how much time has passed, for example, when Cain kills Abel. It doesn't say how old they were or anything. Now, one thing that I found online was suggesting that they were about, Abel was about 15. Or was it Cain that was 15? One or the other. So I thought that was interesting. Now, another thing is, why does God need any kind of offering or sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, to begin with? Now, apparently, the offering that Cain brought to the table was fruits. In one of my previous recordings of this, I had read over that part, and I guess I didn't pay it too much attention, but I was thinking it might have been like a vegetable or something since it came from the ground. But upon rereading the chapter, I've reread it now about 3-4 times, and upon rereading it, I noticed that it said fruit. So I got curious, and I looked up to see what kind of possible fruit it might have been. And the fruits that I discovered that are examples of what kind of fruit it may have been are watermelon, cantaloupe, and grapes. A couple examples. And then what I did find is that Abel, apparently being, hoarder of sheep and everything, a herder of sheep and stuff, apparently brought a blood sacrifice to God, based on the findings that I found on the internet. Because it does say that he brought the first of his flock, and the fat thereof. So, I mean, it doesn't outright say that it was a blood sacrifice, like a meat or some kind, a steak perhaps. But it does say the fat thereof, and it's kind of hinted at. So you have Abel who brought a blood sacrifice, and you have Cain who brought fruit. Of the two, the fruit seems a little less barbaric, but the Bible was written by barbarians. But basically what I'm trying to get at is, why does God need any kind of offering to begin with? Why would any kind of all-powerful deity need an offering of any sort? It doesn't really make a lot of sense to me. I don't really know where to go with that from there. I mean, it just doesn't make sense. This is going along the lines of like the Mayans, for example, how they would sacrifice, what was it, the most beautiful girl in the village or something like that, and they would hold her hard up to the sun god, you know. So at least it wasn't a person offering, right? But like maybe Adam like sacrificing Cain or something, I could see that, you know, that would be a possible variation from the Bible. I mean, it's not in the Bible, of course. Of course, later on we do have stuff like that, but we'll get to that in the future. Alright, so let's move on. Verse 6, Cain is mad because you turned away his offering, God. And God, you're an idiot if you don't see that. Apparently God doesn't like fruit. So, suggesting God's a carnivore. God's a carnivore. He doesn't like fruit. He wants meat. Okay, let's see here. Now, another thing, verse 8, wouldn't God know Cain would try to slay Abel? Being all-knowing and everything. And I know I've said that time and time again throughout my videos, but God really hasn't shown any kind of godly powers. I mean, it says he created everything, da-da-da-da-da, but his all-knowingness and all of that stuff hasn't really surfaced. And then if he did know, why did he not stop him? You know, unless possibly he intended for it all along. If it was all some kind of game, I don't know. Verse 10, God apparently decides to use his special power after it's too late. So after he comes to Cain and says, where's your brother? And Cain's like, I don't know. My brother's keeper? And then God's like, I feel your brother's presence from the ground reaching out to me, like I can hear his blood or whatever. It's a little ridiculous, in my opinion. Why would he not just come up and be like, why'd you kill your brother? And even if that happened, I would still argue, how does he not know? He's supposed to be all-knowing, all-seeing, all-loving, all that crap. So yeah, why did he not stop it? And how did he not know? And then why all of a sudden decide to use his special God power? Let's see here, verse 15. If you slay Cain, then you get even worse curse upon you. He does this, of course, so no one will kill Cain, but it still seems kind of ridiculous that just because, like, if Cain came up to you and killed your wife, and then you killed Cain, you still get cursed sevenfold. And apparently, Lamech, I believe is his name, is the one who kills Cain. Yeah, it says right here, it says, Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wandering, and a young man to my hurt. It doesn't say that it's Cain, but it implies it. And then later, in the next verse, it says, if Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. So it really hints that Lamech kills Cain and gets the curse. It's 70 and sevenfold. I'm assuming they mean 77, but they say 70 and 7. So maybe that's an old way of saying 77. But yeah, so apparently Lamech kills Cain and gets the curse 77 times greater than what Cain had. So I mean, that's pretty wild. It doesn't really say that Cain dies though, and it doesn't say what Lamech's curse would be. So I'm really assuming right now. Alright, so let's move on. Verse 17, so apparently Cain finds a wife somewhere. No mention of where or who she is, where she's from or who she is, and then they have a bunch of kids, no mention where they are from. I mean, technically Cain and his wife only have Enoch, but then Enoch has children, and then children, lots of children after that. But it only mentions that Cain himself has Enoch with his wife, but it still raises the question of where did Cain find a wife? There's no mention of any other people. So I got curious and I looked it up online, and yes, I went to Answers in Genesis. It's what popped up, so I clicked on it. And being the Bible thumpers they are, I figured it'd probably be the best source. So since we're looking at the Bible literally, so what it came up saying was that there is no time scale being shown here, so it could have actually been a long period of time had passed, and possibly even a long period of time had passed when Cain and Abel were growing up. But no scale saying when they actually made their sacrifice. No scale actually saying, when Cain was cast out. So one of the things I found apparently was saying that Cain and not Cain, but Adam and Eve had something like 30 something guys or sons and 20 something daughters. So I mean that's one possibility, I guess, is that Cain got with one of his sisters, and even which that's still pretty messed up considering incest and stuff of that nature. But even in Answers in Genesis, it was saying that back then incest apparently was okay because the gene pool was pure or something. I don't know. But anyway, even if it was a sister instead of Eve, that's still incest and that's still messed up. Now, another thing that I did find was stating that there's a possibility of pre-humans, people that were around before Adam and Eve, which is, I found strange that I would find that on Answers in Genesis, but it's there clear as day. They themselves deny it, but it is a possibility that's mentioned among scholars, I guess. Anyhow, no matter how you look at it, Cain got with a wife in the Bible, and that wife can only really be certain possibilities, and that's Mama Dearest, Eve herself, or Sister Dearest, who apparently doesn't have a name, because I don't see any names for any sisters of any kind there in chapter 4. Now, Cain's child Enoch and Enoch's children have other daughters, and Lamech himself has 2 wives. So, but either way you look at it, it's got to be incest, seeing as Adam and Eve are supposed to be the only 2 people there prior. There's no mention of anyone else. So Cain either got with Eve or he got with one of his sisters. So it's like Ivo, Alabama, I guess. Sorry for anyone who's in Alabama, but you know what I mean. Moving on. Verse 23 is actually one that I already went over, saying, whereas the one that I was talking about where Lamech apparently kills Cain. So yeah, we already discussed that prematurely. Alright then, I guess that's it. Now in chapter 5, I actually haven't read into yet, so I don't know what's going on. So we will discuss that shortly. I'm glad that we were able to get the recording in. Thank you for your patience. Well, I guess that's it. Alright. My name is Caretaker. You can call me CT. Thank you for visiting my channel. Break the silence. Question everything. Like, share, comment, subscribe. Past videos over here. And when I get it uploaded, the next video will be over here. Subscribe's right above me there. Probably going to place my Horizon Zero Dawn playthrough over here on the right corner until I get my next video up. But yeah, break the silence, question everything. Y'all have a good one.